Hello there, my dear friends, and welcome to process video number 4 for our scrapbook embellishment mini series. With this one, I wanted to use some sequins, and the easiest thing that I could think of with using a bunch of sequins in one layout is to do kind of the things that we do with card making, which is to do a shaker accent. And with this one, I'm going to do it with the title. I have used my Silhouette die cut machine to cut out the letters for my title, and the title is Oh Boy. And I just used a simple clean font. I believe I used Impact for this one, and I cut it out with white cardstock. And so with this time, I don't know if you saw it, that I was kind of tapping my fingers there. I could not decide if I wanted the pattern paper showing behind the title or if I should back it up with some white cardstock. But while I'm kind of contemplating on what I'm going to do there, I'm going to start my shaker accent or shaker part, and I do that by adding some acetate or transparency onto the back side of the title, and then I'm actually going to turn that around and I'm going to put back the little parts of the O and the B. So I'm going to take the positive part of the letter and just stick that onto the acetate, just so that I can use that as a guide to where my, like, the centers of my O and the centers of my B will go. So that's what I'm doing here right now. And I'm just using my ATG gun adhesive just because it's right here, but if you don't want to have to kind of deal with having to move the adhesive, because some of that will kind of go outside of the space or of the little, I don't know, dots or whatever you call them, then I would suggest using some liquid adhesive. But I don't know, I'm kind of lazy of finding a different adhesive, so I'm just gonna kind of move that around, make sure that the adhesive just stays on the back side of those little strips. And then I can pull out the positive of that letter, and there you have it. So now comes the kind of, I don't say a hard part, but a tedious part. So in this part, after you have put your transparency or acetate onto the back side of your whatever you're trying to put sequins behind, now you have to raise it so that you can actually have some room to put your sequins. And because this is a big space, it's not like a card, you need a lot of foam adhesive. And so I'm just using the foam adhesive that I've always been using for my layouts. This is just regular fun foam that I had placed some adhesive in, double-sided adhesive in the back. Now I use some double-sided adhesive sheets that come like in the size of like a regular computer paper, which is like 8.5 by 11, and this one comes from Glue Dots. Now I'm sure there's other adhesive sheets that you can purchase, but this is the one that I have. You can also use some adhesive backed foam sheets if you want, so that you don't have to add the adhesive to it. But I have a lot of fun foam and I'm just trying to use it up, and I just, I happen to have both of them in my stash, so that's what I'm doing. And as you can see, I don't know if you noticed that, I have a bag of those adhesive sheets because that's something that I do, like when I'm just watching TV, that I would just back up a ton of fun foam, so that it will be ready for when I am ready to scrapbook. And because the thing is, I have these big sheets of adhesive and I also have big sheets of fun foam, and so I cut them up in manageable sizes, maybe like an 1 by 2 inch strips like what you see here, so that it'll be easier for me to use it on my paper crafting, whether it's scrapbooking or whether it is card making. So now that I have backed that up, or one more thing that I'm going to say about the backing it up, you have to make sure that it's whatever you're backing up should be like whatever the item is that you are trying to fill in with the sequence, you have to make sure that it's tight and close. That's why you saw me put like this, the big chunks of the fun foam, and I'm making sure that I enclosed the whole title with it, because you don't want the sequence to fall off or fall out of whatever your the enclosure that you have built around it. But because that top part is closed, is raised, you have to raise the other parts, and so that's why I put just a little bit of fun foam on the bottom of the white cardstock as well. And so at this point, I had peeled out, or peeled off rather, all of the backing of my double-sided adhesive, and so I'm ready to put my white cardstock over my pattern paper background. And as you can see, I've created my shaker part, and I really like the accent of this and how it just brings that little something to an otherwise plain layout. So, and as you can see, I have decided to keep the pattern paper showing on the back side of that title. I want to know, I'm kind of curious, if you were making this layout, would you have backed it up with another cardstock, or a white cardstock, or another paper, or would you have done the same as me, where I had let that pattern paper show on the back side of that title? Let me know in the description box below what you would have done if you were making this layout, because I'm kind of curious. So now it's time for me to add my photos, and I have three 3x4 photos here. I am using a little bit of scrap pattern paper just to kind of do some layering behind my photos there, because the background, or the paper that will be showing behind the photos, is white cardstock, so it's a little bit plain on in my eyes, and so I needed like little strips of pattern paper to go with it. Now, as you can see, I'm using pink here, but I really love the heart accent, and then I'm also using some strips of pink. My kid's shirt is orange, but the little goo that he has on his hair is pink, so I thought that I could get away with pink tones on this layout, even though it's kind of a masculine or boy layout. So now that I've talked about the layout and the technique that I'm using, let's talk about the photos. So the reason why I titled it "Oh Boy" was because this is a documentation of when my youngest tried to put some goo, I don't know what it's called, like putty, some, putty on his hair. He accidentally put some on his hair, and if you've ever experienced having to take out putty from your kid's hair, it is a mess. And so I try to pull out as much as I can, but at this point, this piece that's left on his hair is stuck there. So thank goodness for Google. I found that you can use some peanut butter, and I guess the consistency of peanut butter will allow you to pull out most of the goo from hair. And I think you can do the same technique for like clothes and furniture or upholstery as well, if I can recall that right. And then after we were able to take out most of the goo, then of course he took a shower. But oh boy, this little guy, he just brings a lot of excitement to my life, excitement that I don't really want, but I had to document this. So the pictures are not great because I just used my phone, but this is something that I want to remember because it just shows you the kind of shenanigans that little boys can have and that mothers of boys will have to deal with. So, well, I'm sure there's some young girls too that would put glue on their heads, but for some reason, my boy is the one that did it. So now I have added the layers of pattern paper. Now, I don't know if you remember, but that star paper is actually part of the my layout number 3, and I needed something to go behind the whole, my whole paper scrap layering, and it just happened to be in my on my table, on the side of my table, and so I pulled that out, and it's blue and it's stars, and it just kind of denotes boy to me, so I added that there. And now I'm adding a little bit more sequins here just to kind of give it some more accent, and I will add a few more stickers here because it felt like a little bit, again, a little plainer to me. I'm sorry that my layout is a little bit whitewashed here. My camera that I'm filming this on is just trying to find a color to what you call this, to focus on, and because there's too much white on my layout that it's having a hard time, so it's overexposing it. But I never counted how many sequins I got here because, I counted after the fact that I've created a layout, and it's so hard to count all those sequins that I have in that shaker title part. So I'm gonna just say that I used about 100 pieces of sequins here. Maybe a little less, maybe more, I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm gonna say 100 sequins that I've used on this particular layout. So now I am ruffling through my stickers, trying to see things that I can use for this specific layout, and just trying to find, I was initially thinking that I could get like boy stickers that would go with this, but I would eventually actually go through some random, not random, but generic, remember this sticker, and then I found a couple for like, it's supposed to be for moms, but it had the word fix it mom and mommy doctor that I found applicable to what I actually did for this particular layout or event. So there you have it. I hope that you like these videos, and I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next installment of this mini series. Bye.